Asaph was a worship leader and a prophet in the days of David. He was appointed by David to lead temple worship. And in Psalm 74, he has a very honest psalm about the fact that he almost slipped. He got to looking around the world around him, and he saw the wealthy and the comfortable of the world, that they didn't have any problems, and everything went their way, and they had all that they could ever desire. And he got jealous of that. He said, Lord, I'm serving you and I don't have these things. He got jealous. And he said the thing that brought him back from the edge, the thing that kind of got his attention, he says in verse 17, until I went into the sanctuary of God, then understood I their end. When he went to worship, he got his eyes off of the here and now, and he put them on the eternal. And when he put his eyes on God and on the eternal, he said, oh, now I get it. Now I understand. The wicked may enjoy their wealth for a season, but ultimately they're going to have to face God. And like the rich man and Lazarus, that rich man who wasn't rich toward God wound up in hell. And that was the end of all luxury. That was the end of all of his pleasant living. And poor Lazarus, that had really suffered during life, well, he wound up in the presence of God. And so that was the reset for Asaph. He goes on to say, so foolish was I and ignorant. I was as a beast before thee. Nevertheless, I'm continually with thee. Thou hast holden me by my right hand. He realized that not only was he always in the presence of God, but God was holding him. Thou shalt guide me with thy counsel, and afterward receive me to glory. Asaph knew that he would be guided by God's counsel during life, and when this life was over, he would go into the glorious presence of God. And then he says this, whom have I in heaven but thee? And there is none upon earth that I desire beside thee. What a magnificent realization, and thank God for bringing Asaph to this place. I hope that he brings all of us to the same place. And that is that as we meditate in the Word of God, as we grow closer in our relationship with Jesus, we get our eyes off of the here and now, we put our eyes on the eternal, onto the heavenly, and we realize the end. What is the end? Well, the end is really just a beginning. Whenever this life is over, we step into the next one, and it's either heaven or hell. And for Asaph, he knew it would be heaven. And for the wicked, he knew that it would be hell. And so as he considers this, it brings him to this place, and he says, and whom have I in heaven but thee? Now, that doesn't mean, I don't think Asaph, he knew some people that had already gone on before him, and I'm sure that he wanted to see them. But in comparison to getting to see God, to be in God's presence, well, there was no comparison. What was ultimately his desire to go to heaven was to see God, to be continually in the very presence of God, literally. He says, in the earth, there's none upon earth that I desire beside thee. For Asaph, he realized that the greatest thing that he could ever do is to walk in a relationship with God in the here and now. Paul says something real similar in Philippians 1, verse 21, for to me, to live is Christ, and to die is gain. In other words, for me to live my life here and now is to follow Christ, to focus on Christ, to be led and guided by Christ. He's leading and guiding my life, and he's the most important thing in my life. Now, a lot of people would finish that sentence very differently. For me to live is, and they would fill in the blank with their job or a person or a hobby or something, but not Paul. And then he said to die is gain. How can dying be gain? Well, because he was going into the presence of Jesus, just like Asaph was saying here. I just want to encourage you this morning. Get your eyes off of the here and now. Don't be jealous of those who seem like everything's going good now. Put your focus and emphasis on the eternal, and realize that the most important thing you could ever do is walk with Jesus. God bless you. Have a great day.